college football. New playoff rankings were released last night. Same top 10 teams. Only one change, though. Washington, they passed Florida State for fourth in the rankings, and there's sure to be more movement next week because, you know, you've got the big game, Ohio State and Michigan. All right, so look who joins us now. All things college football. We've got Heather Dinich, we got Paul Finebaum, and listen, you guys are the foremost expert when we talk about everything and when it comes to college football, especially this playoff thing. And I guess the question is this an elimination game when we talk about this Ohio State-Michigan game, Heather?
It's an elimination game, in my opinion, for Michigan, because if Michigan doesn't win this game, they will have one win against a CFP top 25 opponent. That's Penn State. Their first 4 games were all at home. They didn't have a non-conference game against a Power 5 opponent. Those are the things that will doom you in that selection committee meeting room on selection day if you don't win your conference. Ohio State is a little bit different because it has wins against Penn State and Notre Dame, which was the blueprint for getting into the CFP last year. The difference last year was that USC lost in the Pac-12 Conference Championship game, dropped out, and it was a no-brainer. This year, there are too many other contenders. I think it's going to be extremely difficult for any conference to have a team get in that doesn't win its league.
I know we saw this last year. Paul, I'll come to you there. How might the Big Ten put up 2 teams in the college football playoff final like they did last year? What do you think?
Yeah, maybe on some video game or in a fantasy world, but it's not happening. And they deserved it last year. I mean, they had 2 of the 4 best teams in the country. They have very good teams this year, but Heather laid it out. I mean, Michigan, go find a better opponent than what you had if you want to lose at home and figure out a way. Ohio State did what I just got through saying. They went to Notre Dame and they won the game. But they have a narrow path. But it seems like every year we're sitting here trying to figure out a way to get Ohio State into the playoffs. And at some point, you have to wonder if that's not going to be in the mindset of those committee members on that final Sunday.
All right, look, let's stop talking about the Big Ten. Let's get to the SEC because, Paul, we know that is right up in your wheelhouse. So let's say if one-loss Bama knocks off undefeated Georgia, then what?
That should not be a question, should it? We're talking about Georgia, and I know before Heather comes in with the facts and the bylaws, let me explain what Georgia has done for the past 3 years. They haven't lost in forever. I mean, they will win on Saturday night against Georgia Tech, the 29th straight game. That's never happened before in the SEC. It's hardly ever happened in college football. You might have to go to Bud Wilkinson in the 50s to find a point of reference. And I think there's one other one in there. This is a dynasty that we're talking about. So what does that have to do with this year? Georgia is still the best team this year. And if they lose one game to a very good Alabama team, I don't think it should disqualify them. It certainly shouldn't disqualify them against some of the other teams we're talking about. Of course, that has to happen. And I don't know that many people who are predicting it.
Heather, do you see any world that we could live in where the SEC could be out entirely from the college football playoff final at all? At all?
It's certainly possible. Listen, first of all, I would be shocked if it happened. Let me put that out there. I would be shocked. But if you have undefeated Washington, if you have Georgia winning the SEC, or Alabama winning the SEC, you have undefeated Big Ten champion, you have undefeated Florida State, we can't talk about this without talking about the head-to-head between Alabama and Texas. You can't. But what's important for people to remember is no one in the country will have a better opportunity to impress the selection committee in the conference championship game than Alabama because they're playing the committee's #1 team. Who you play matters. Texas should hope it plays Oklahoma because that's the highest ranked Big 12 opponent left that they could possibly play. They could avenge the regular season loss to the Sooners, and they have the head-to-head. But that's not the only thing that matters. Strength of schedule matters, which is why it's possible that Alabama's win would be more impressive, obviously, than what Texas does in the Big 12 title game.
I love it. Paul's sitting there looking like, what would I have to talk about if that happens? Why would I be here? Anyway, Heather Dinich, Paul Finebaum, thank you very much. All right, here's our featured college football rivalry weekend matchup. You got 7th-ranked Texas. They can lock up that spot in the Big 12 championship game with a win against Texas Tech. That's Friday night, ESPN. Then Saturday night, you got 5th-ranked Florida State without, of course, Travis Jordan here. He's got the broken leg college football career over. They take on Florida. It's on ABC. And then you got number 1, Georgia, squaring off against Georgia Tech for the 115th time. You can catch that on ABC.
Give me something.